Hopefully people are here. My people, lifers, are you there? Are you here? Are people watching? I am so sorry for these tech problems. I think I have them fixed now. Um, Although I might have them fixed, and Christoph is here. Now I hear you. I am so happy you are hearing me now. Um, we have we have one viewer and no Larry, and we have one doctor. This is going to be a groundbreaking episode of Life Support Live. Victoria, hello. Nathaniel, hello. Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Our people are strolling in. My daughter is banging on the door. We are off to a wonderful, wonderful episode of Life Support Live. Christoph, welcome. Karen, hello. Zahir, Doc, you're alive. Streams are crossing. Libby is back. Libby is in a very hot place. Welcome back. Big Blue is here. You know what, folks? Sometimes I get so frustrated by all of these tech problems, and I just wish there was a way for me to just, I wish I could just kind of get rid of all of this. Oh man, and just do the show in person. What? Larry? What? What?
I was just having some, Dr. Pepper here on the 37th anniversary of Star Trek 3.
Folks, Dr. Trek is in the house, literally.
I told you, I have to get used to my new camera. I told you all it was going to be a very special edition. We didn't know it was going to be so special.
It was going to be so special because the audio wasn't working. I couldn't get two mics to work on one. It worked in rehearsals, folks.
There is no point. No wonder we're doomed for dystopia, because there's no point in having a rehearsal if 10 seconds later the parameters are all... Like, how did that happen? It worked 5 seconds.
We did a complete rehearsal. I never do two mics into one computer. We recorded it. We listened back to it. We adjusted the levels.
Way to make a guy feel welcome. It's just that it was your mic that was this way. Oh.
Folks.
What do you think?
Yeah, welcome, Larry.
We're having a debate. Should we keep talking forwards?
Yes, or should we talk to each other? I don't know.
What's everybody doing?
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Life Support.
On yet?
Oh yeah.
See, there's no wall.
Charlotte said,
"There's no wall here."
OMG, the docs are in the same room.
Oh, yeah.
We are. I am touching Larry.
Not too much.
Not too much. Just a little bit. I can poke. This is Larry. And Larry, I'm real. I'm not a hologram.
Okay. You are.
Yeah, I'm real. I'm here.
Okay.
Don't read too many of those thoughts. You might not like what you find.
My thoughts to my thoughts, because you can never be too safe. Okay.
And folks, I was telling Larry in our pre-show that he is my second, whatever that was, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. As most of our introductions, Larry is my second ever guest in this home. And he is the last guest, because we are moving very soon. But yeah, we moved into this home a few months before the pandemic. I had one friend over, and then the pandemic hit, and then no one else ever came. And now here we are. Larry's my second guest.
I was on a road trip, and I said, wait a minute, I'm going to be just a mile or two from you. And he says, well, that's good, because we're moving the next week. So you've got to take this wall with you.
I'm actually gonna try to recreate this exact wall in our new place.
The karma of the universe.
Yeah. Well, that's why you need, you need a transporter in real life. And folks, not only is Larry my second and last guest, but he is the first guest to use these glasses. These are the Star Trek 3 Search for Spock Taco Bell. Someone identified it.
Yeah, they have the Taco Bell glasses.
Let me see who. It was of course it was Scott. Scott recognized
I think I have 3 of these. It was like I never could get the 4th one. I mean, I could now with eBay, but back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, these are so my friend got these for me. I got the Spock Lives one, which is I guess a spoiler for the movie.
Well, you had these 2 glasses, and I took this one because the Falter Pan, it's obscure. It's the only one with McCoy on it, so.
Oh, of course.
If I'm looking.
And I have
Never gets a break. Never on anything.
and mine has the 3 Spocks: Nimoy, Kelvin, and Discovery. Just kidding. I just wanted to make some neurons fire in Larry's mind.
It's like the 30th anniversary special would be called The 3 Spots.
I would watch it. It would be like a Doctor Who special.
I was going to say, BBC would make it.
Oh, yeah. Then the effects might not be as good if BBC made that one.
Well, foam rocks are still foam rocks.
Phil says he still has his Taco Bell glasses. Phil, join the party. Come on over.
See, your chat's in gray on Ecamm, and my Restream chat is blue and red, or whatever.
Phil also says, move the mic between you. We got 2 mics, actually, Phil.
Yeah.
So I am running off this one. Larry's running off that one. Hopefully the audio levels are okay. If we're having problems, mine might be a little too hot. Oh, I see what the problem is. There we go, folks. That should
Don't trust that window. It killed you before.
It did. It
let
did.
you down.
It really did.
It betrayed you.
We have a special show for you folks.
As this hasn't been special enough, right?
Yeah. So
What's amazing is if you had been quiet and the Blue S had been talking.
Oh yeah,
that would have been a real mind buster.
Mind Buster is one way. Mind Buster makes me think Starship Troopers. A very lovely film that one might argue.
That I never saw.
Really?
I know.
Have you read the book?
No.
The book is
Heinlein, right.
Yeah, the book feels like it's almost advocating for an authoritarian state, and the movie is sort of making fun of it. So I think it's one of those rare situations where the movie might actually be better than the book.
It's like the Jungle Cruise was designed to be straight, and now all the Disney. Yeah.
It's being redone. Yeah. Folks, that's actually where I was last week. I took my nephew on a trip. We went to Disney, and it was a blast. We'll talk about that probably on next week's
You went to the
episode.
real Disneyland.
Yes.
Not the fake one in Florida.
Oh, yes. The original.
The real one.
The better.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love all my European friends that go, I've been to Disney World. And I go, the fake one?
The Magic Kingdom is not, it's not as good as Disneyland.
But that's okay. I say the same thing about California Adventure, which most people thought the same. For the first 20 years, no one went there. Okay,
so now...
Star Trek.
Yeah, now Christoph says, now you both sound remote in the next room. Now
it
we
worked!
have
That whole remote in the next room effect worked.
yeah, and then how are you saying now we have echoes? Okay, let me observe what this is sounding like, folks. I promise we have a real show ready for you all.
Maybe it's a good thing that I did bring my.
Let me see what this is actually sounding like. All right, Larry.
This is just a joke, guys. This is really just the rehearsal. Hello and welcome to today's topic, teching the tech.
I know, in real time.
Teching the tech without scripts or brackets.
There's kind of an echo effect. All right, I can fix that.
I mean, if you've got a second mic on for the first time, you never had to deal with a second mic.
No, I haven't. And you know what? Maybe a little bit of physical relocating might actually help to... Oh, I think... let's see here. Okay, we'll do this.
For all of you original series blooper fans.
We'll do that. Mm-hmm. We'll do this. Folks, better one or two? Better A
Should
or
I be
B?
talking?
Hopefully, yeah, you should talk.
Okay.
Yeah, is this better, folks? If there wasn't a tech problem, it wouldn't be normal. Thank you, Karen. I think that sounds like...
I just didn't want the tech to overshadow... I was hoping this would be we were hoping this would be a real shock. And,
Christoph says, not really better.
Robert says, audio worse. Paula says it's okay.
You know what we could do? Ollie is echoing. Okay, that's great. So, the echo.
See, I wonder
Jared.
if you're not used to having two mics open, so I wonder if that's what I was afraid of or wondering.
Yeah, Jared says the echo is due to both mics picking up the same input.
This never happens at at the Trek File. John never lets this happen on the Trek File.
So Scott says Larry's good. Ollie's still echoing.
Story of my life.
Yeah. You know what, folks? We're gonna go to one mic. We're gonna go to one mic, and hopefully that.
We'll do it. We'll do it one mic.
I'm gonna actually go on this mic, and I can change the settings here.
Let me do my Bob Hope cosplay here. Okay.
And so here's what we're doing, folks, in real time. The echo should now be eliminated as we turn this into omnidirection. Okay.
How are we doing? Okay.
All right, folks. Now you should be hearing both of us on the same mic.
Good?
We should be good, folks. Are you happy? Are you happy?
It's decent.
Christoph, I am looking at you. You have been a consistent voice for audio. Christoph says better.
Christoph has been a consistent voice for here's what you guys are doing wrong.
Yeah. Okay, Christoph says better. I think that's a high praise.
That is.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go.
We are actually going to do a show now. I can turn the gain up even more, Christoph.
Give me a ping.
Ping.
Welcome to the Columbia Broadcasting System and all its affiliate stations coast to coast and around the world over the Armed Forces Radio Network, bringing you a one-mic version of Life Support live from the studios of The Psych Show in Santa Clara, California, high atop the Tip Top Motel in downtown... No, wait, that's the band.
We're here at Life Support Live, everyone, and on this week's episode, we're going to be doing a special Ask Me Anything, Ask Us Anything. Ask not me anything, ask us anything. There's two of us here.
And now it's crashing to the mooring post, all the humanities!
Okay.
Christoph says, Ollie, good now, Larry, okay. It's a C mic! Christoph, it's a C mic!
But I'm bellering. How could I not be? Okay.
With Larry closer to the mic, he's perfect. Hey, well, okay, we've got an answer.
It's the tech notes from Austria. Okay.
Larry, this has got to be a record for us. We're 27 minutes in.
I was going to say,
even started.
The slowest. Yeah, good thing we didn't have a topic.
Folks, this is a legitimate episode of Life Support Live. We have Larry's favorite beverage of choice. It's all set to go. Not only that, but we even have our merch here.
Oh yes, don't forget the store. I brought that, didn't we? Look, I even had my skinny cow this morning already. Chocolates off the teeth.
We've got with tech problems and all. This is a real episode of
We had the
Life
fake
Support.
tech problem, which wasn't good enough. We had to have a real tech problem on top of the fake tech problem.
And Charlotte says, Ollie's clearly had his coffee this morning. I did. I am fully caffeinated, ready to go. We actually started this, Larry. We went live. I thought at 10 o'clock, right on the dot, but I apparently hit play, but I didn't hit go live. So I thought this would be like everything would be good to go. We had a rehearsal. We never have rehearsals. And then, here we are 30 minutes in. But we have an actual real episode. So Larry, for those poor souls who might be joining us.
I have to get used to your chat thing here too. Okay.
I know, it's so different. So for those poor souls for whom this is their first episode of Life Support Live, we do things here. This is a weekly show that explores how Star Trek can help us to boldly go in our own lives to better ourselves and the rest of humanity.
Yes, I believe a famous starship captain once said that.
I do think that's true.
Yes, it's a good thing I have this memorized by now. And as another famous starship captain also once said, wherever our mission takes us, we'll try to have a little, a lot, too much fun along the way. Picard and Pike, for all of you wondering after the last year. That's who said that.
Hello, everyone. I am psychologist Dr. Ali Mattu.
You are? Oh my God, you are!
Yeah,
you
legitimate. Yes.
Oh, and I'm a very fake Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek. I mean, not the Dr. Trek. I mean, this is not really me. This is obviously a beam-in hologram.
And
one of us is a real doctor.
And sometimes we run a real live stream show. We'll leave it to you to decide who is that real doctor.
And what days that is.
On this episode, folks, we prepped out a whole episode, and then we trashed it all, and we're doing something very different. We thought since we're actually in person, we do a more casual, fun, casual. Maybe it's a little too casual.
It's a little too casual.
Yeah.
Maybe the tech didn't get the memo.
They didn't get the memo. It's not supposed to be this casual. We're doing a show that is focused on an Ask Us Anything. We're asking each other anything, and we're going to be taking your questions as well. So I
keep wanting to reach down and get the mouse, and it's his mouse.
You can get the mouse.
I know. I keep wanting to move the window up closer to the camera.
We
and
can
move
do.
the shadow.
I can move it closer. I can move it right here, Larry. I can do lots of things here.
Well, you can cover you up with the chat.
I can even cover myself. I do that from time to time, actually. And Nathaniel says, and as another captain once said, I can live with it.
Oh. Things got very dark very fast.
I can live with it. Computer, delete that entire live stream.
Please. I'm trying to hold this cat like a rum glass.
Why, Jared? Why are you asking about episode 100? We're on 60, my friend. Jared, slow down. Worry about 75 before you get to 100.
You know, Jared, let us worry about the episodes. Where are the retreats, man?
Yeah.
What's going
come on. This might be the first Life Support Live retreat. It has an attendee of 2.
I feel like retreating.
Yeah.
I think the tech won. Retreat.
Okay, so,
And ask us anything.
So, folks, ask your questions down below. We have prepared 5. Count them 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions to ask each other.
I wish I'd never started that meme now. Okay.
Yeah. Well, usually we sing. We sing for the audience. We sing. But
I don't know how that'll work too in the same room, but we'll see.
It's
everything happens.
You know who I'm appreciating right now?
Just think how this is going to sound on the podcast.
It's going to sound like gold.
Fool's gold, that is.
Yeah. We are in California, so fool's gold sounds
even a couple of expats. Okay.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's right. Jared says Life Support Live retreat, Star Trek Mission Chicago. That's a real thing that's happening.
That's sounding
Jared.
pretty real.
Yeah, that's we need a little
Scotch
bit more.
Everybody's just saying drink, which is good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Melanie says you guys are like sitting in the same room. How does that work? I don't know.
I kind of changed the laws of physics. I didn't think it was possible. It's like beaming at warp or something. I didn't know.
Oh man, Nathaniel.
I guess we have a movie budget. That's what that means.
Yeah, we do.
You can
it's
only
a small
beam
one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna feel more like insurrection.
It's Kelvin credits.
Yeah.
They're just as fake as everything else, but somehow they still work here. I don't know.
Nathaniel's asking if we're gonna sing Butter. I don't think Larry knows it. I don't think you know BTS.
What?
Smooth like butter, like criminal undercover.
No.
Sorry, Nathaniel.
I don't know what.
It's not happening. Butter. Yeah.
No, you said I don't think Larry knows.
BTS.
I know behind the scenes. I've been doing it for years.
Anyways, all right, Larry. Do you want to start us off?
Let's go.
You're our guest. I mean, you're my guest. You're my guest in the Psych Show studios.
Okay.
I would love to give you. We don't know what the questions are that we're asking each other. This is live, folks. It's never been done before. It's been done 60
I don't know
times,
what questions I'm asking each other.
Okay, well then it's gonna be something.
Okay, so here's my question to you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the first, or do you remember the best, or have you ever done a case where, when you had patients clinically, that you ever used Star Trek in your therapy? And if that's desperate, I'll say anything pop culture-ish, anything franchisey.
I mean, I remember the first pop culture moment. It wasn't Star Trek though.
Okay.
So I
can forgive you.
Well, for a long time,
It depended on the person. It was something I
Yes,
assumed that.
yes.
Yeah.
And so I was in my second to last year of grad school, and up to this point, I hadn't used any pop culture in therapy at all. It felt like a big no-no. Like it would make things less serious. This is all in my head, Larry.
Okay.
But like,
Because I would think the last 10 10, 15, 20 years, people would, your professors, the profession would say whatever you can use to connect with the patient.
Well, I think a lot of my professors did say that. Like, it is about building the relationship. That's the paramount importance there. Sitting on a mountain of content.
And then you went away from Star Trek. I don't get it.
Yeah. That went to CBS.
Obviously not it's the Warner point.
Right. The paramount importance is of building the relationship. However, I felt like when you're in grad school, when you're becoming a therapist, you're constantly
I feel like still looking forward while
you
you're
can look
talking.
forward.
It's
Star
so
Trek
weird.
is about moving
You're
forward.
here talking, and I'm
Star Trek's about moving forward, except for the 2010s where you just do a bunch of prequels, and
just
the
tread
2000s.
water.
You go back. Sometimes you got to go back to
Well-
go forward, and then you go way forward into the 32nd century. But we're not talking about that right now.
Nope.
Walter
Pan, everybody.
But you know, Larry, the past is the lens through which we can understand the future. It's the only way.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can
see,
use that.
That
Feel
is
free to
so
use it.
good. Like Fat Chance, you'll ever hear that on a modern Star Trek.
Anyways, I felt like I as a grad student, I felt like I always needed to make myself appear more professional and like I pretend like I know what I'm talking about, and somehow pop culture, whatever the pop culture, would take away from that.
Right.
So then I had a patient, my second to last year of
No
training.
gravitas.
No gravitas. My second to last year of training, I had a patient who I was, he was in his mid-teens, adolescent boy, really anxious. I was not connecting with him. And my supervisor, Dr. Anne-Marie Albano, renowned in the world of child anxiety, she said, well, why don't you talk to him about something he likes? What does he like? And I said, I don't know. And she's like, you don't know what he's into? And I'm like, no. And she's like, how do you expect to work with kids?
Now you've lost your credibility.
Yeah, now I've lost my credibility. She's like, how do you expect to work with kids if you're not talking to them about
their
their
language,
interests, in
right.
their language?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can do that? And she's like, that's the only way. It's the only way you can do this work with kids. And so I had at my next meeting with him, I asked him about what he's into, what he likes to do for fun, and you could see like his eyes opened a little.
And he said, who are you? Where did you come from?
Yeah. This is so much better than talking about anxiety.
No, serious. Do you have a twin brother that also is a bad psych major?
So then I talked to him about what he's into, and he was really into Naruto, which is an anime that I knew nothing about. I knew nothing about anime, and I proceeded to learn a lot about anime and Naruto. And I had a friend who was really into Naruto, and I said, how many episodes are there? And she's like, like 700. And I'm like, okay, give me the cliff notes. Give me the summary. And that was the first time.
Yeah.
And from that, I started to do that with everyone I worked with. In the very first meeting, I would talk to
them about Naruto?
Naruto to everyone. I'm like, we are doing Naruto therapy. I know, in my first session...
Here's the Naruto Concordance, here's the Naruto Tech Manual.
The Naruto Concordance sounds like an episode of Star Trek Discovery.
Here's the,
or at least a book.
Here's the Naruto cookbook, here's the Naruto...
I think Naruto Concordance sounds like a Star Trek novel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or an episode of The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
So after that, with every new patient, I would ask them, what do you like to do for fun? What do you like to do when you should be doing work? Like, how do you...
It's almost as if that was a learning moment for you.
Oh, man. Every now and then I have a learning moment.
Okay.
I have one moment where I learn something.
One per year. That's all.
One per year.
You're on a strict budget. Yeah.
But the first time I used Star Trek with a patient, I can't remember because over the years I've had so many patients that with whom I've used Star Trek. I definitely have my...
I've had so many patients I can't count them anymore.
Well, I have my favorites, and I have a few people who... there's one in particular I'm thinking about who we were just on the same level of Star Trek knowledge, and we both were into the same characters, the same episodes, and there was one time.
Did you help them get better?
Yeah.
Or did nobody care because you were
we just talked about Star Trek all day. No, he was talking about...
and you got paid for it.
I had a patient who he was talking about staying up late. He got trapped in a Reddit hole of why was Worf in command of the Defiant in Star Trek First Contact? Like, it should have been Sisko. And then that caused him to stay up late. And so we talked a lot about sleep hygiene, and the things you want to do at night are things that sort of calm you down, not things that rev you up. And that discussion was, it was like his mind going to warp. And what we talked about is he needs to do something that's like going into Starbase dock, like slowing down, going in thrusters. And so we were talking, there was a Star Trek event that occurred that triggered his insomnia. And I used a Star Trek metaphor to help him understand sleep hygiene. And we talked about Star Trek episodes that will wind him down as opposed to Star Trek researching that would wind him up. So I loved talking Star Trek with him because we beautifully brought it back to psychology. And mental
remember
health.
my first question was, have you ever used Star Trek as a point with a patient?
Yes, all the time.
That sounded like that guy.
Yeah, but he wasn't my first. He wasn't the first person to talk to Star Trek.
Well, I said
about.
your first or your biggest or your most popular or whatever. Okay.
I've got another person with whom she discovered...
I'm sorry, I just asked one.
I'll say this last one, and then I'm going to ask you a question and go to comments here, too. But I have another patient with whom she discovered Star Trek a few years into us working together, and then I got to experience the joy of her bringing up her own examples of watching The Next Generation for the first time and how that was relating to her life. And that was a lot of fun. Just because, it's so rare to talk to someone who's discovering Star Trek as they're discovering it. So that's another person who I just loved.
That would be such a great idea for like a podcast or a YouTube show or something.
Yeah, and then you can explore the morals, meanings, and messages of that too. Yeah.
Well, that's the kind of thing that people with experience would do. No, I'm kidding. There are. It's been done. There are like father, daughter, father, son, two guys, two gals. Kind of
Let's see.
People are still out there.
We've
got.
It was just
us talking. Okay.
We've got. No, I want to just see the comments here.
See, I can sneak this on mine because it's closer.
I can't.
And for yours, I'm like doing
this.
I
know.
Oh,
Heidi says, in some of my therapy sessions with my psychologist, I have talked about some of the things I've learned through Life Support Live and all these videos. Sometimes my sessions were a lot of knowledge exchange because of my way of handling stuff is by learning a lot about it. That's awesome, Heidi. I think it's all about
Heidi, your doctor didn't say, stop watching such a corrupting influence.
That's where I think the field has come so far, Larry. You go back to the 70s and like Dungeons and Dragons and the 80s and Star Trek fandom, Get a Life, all that sort of stuff. It was not the best time.
I keep saying the geeks won, yeah.
And Scott says, I think I mentioned this, but my current psychiatrist and I spend the last 5-10 minutes of each session talking Trek. There's always a way to bring in the things you love and combine it with the work that you're doing.
Is Just Genus new with us?
Where?
You've got the cursor.
Yes. Just Genus, are you new here? If so, welcome.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but good to see you again.
Yeah.
Glinda says, I'm still looking for a Trek therapist. Glinda, here's what you do. You ask them all your questions, ask about fees, ask about how they work, and then go like this. And see how they respond. That's the trick. That's the trick. Larry, I have a question for you.
You look at them and you say, well, would you rather have the Spock Lives glass or the Falter Pan glass? And see what they say.
Here's a question for you. Okay. You're stuck in a time loop. Like cause and effect. You are reliving.
Oh, I thought that was the excuse for the reason for what happened today. Okay.
No, there's no.
I thought that was the big reveal.
This is just our MO. This is just how we roll.
This isn't fantasy. This is reality. I have to say that holding a phaser. Okay.
We are in the Bay Area, so good reference to Voyage Home.
Yes, I totally planned that. Yeah.
Okay, you're stuck in a time loop. It's
Alameda is more up that way. Yes.
Alameda. Nuclear vessels. We are looking for the nuclear vessels.
We were very close to Alameda yesterday.
Alameda is hard to get in and out of. That's the problem with Alameda. It's got one point of Anyways, we don't.
That's why it's safe to keep the nuclear vessels.
It's a great spot to put the nuclear vessels. So, question for you: you're stuck in a time loop.
Okay.
Now you can choose
3,
The correct answer is usually like 47.
No, I meant in cause and effect. The answer was 3. 3 pips on Riker's
Yes.
thing, so do
Yes.
what Riker says.
Yes, that is not the question at all.
Oh, okay.
You're stuck in a time loop.
Okay.
Bzz, get the cane, pull this guy out of here. You're stuck in a time loop. You can choose how long that loop is, whether it's days, weeks, months, or years, but it is a time loop. What era of Star Trek fandom do you want to be stuck in? You want to be stuck in the 60s, the 70s, 80s,
Wait,
90s,
is
a smaller period of time?
Is this permanent, or is it like my
forever?
control? And
You're not. There's no pips. You're not getting out of.
This is a variation of if you were stuck on a desert island, what would you take with you?
Yeah.
Only it's this.
Yeah, so let's say like there's this one moment in time and that was the best, you want to be stuck in that moment, or there's a prolonger period, or you want to go back to the 60s and that was, I'm not saying what era is the best,
right,
or
right.
that, but what era of Star Trek, of being a fan of this franchise, of following this stuff, do you want to be stuck in? Hey, that's all I do, folks.
What a great question.
I will just leave it here, drop the mic. Thank you, folks. I'll take my answer offline. No.
Fine. You couldn't do that at the beginning. Now we wouldn't have cared about the idea.
And folks, let me know what your answer is in the comments below.
Oh yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
It would be way better than mine. Okay, so what would I choose? Where would I choose to go and for how long?
What era?
Yeah.
How long is that era? And why that one?
Wow.
Yeah. You gotta use a noggin here, folks. Welcome to the Psych Show, where you gotta use your mind.
Am I still on camera? Well, Doctor.
You are on camera. Yeah.
Yes. I feel like.
Go on.
Yes. Where's your goatee? Okay.
And how does that make you feel?
I'm just
my
stalling.
goatee?
Well, I
My
mean,
beard.
this is me. Like people that are. I've been very quiet the last week or two on social, but over time, I have a thing about listicles and lists and just coming up with stuff to come up with stuff because it's internet clickbait. Because I see, like the shows even, I finally have like more favorite shows than others. But to me, everything about Star Trek is like books on the shelf.
Okay.
It's like, it's hard for me to have favorites over other things. And then you can't help but have it. But these broad, like there's good and bad of everything. Like, and sometimes it's hard to divorce it. Like, what the history is going on, but then it's also like your own, like I'm a teenager and I'm in my college years, or I'm in my single years, or I'm in my first married years, or whatever. And like your own life is tied up in Star Trek and what's going on. And everybody's that way. That's why people go back and like watch DS9 now that couldn't stand it in the beginning. And they're like, oh, that's why everybody loves it now. Because back then they were a kid and they didn't get that you had to watch every show or something. And now binging is easy to do, and back then it was hard to keep. Anyway, and that's why rewatchers are good, not just to refresh your memory, but to check you where you were and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
It's a good question.
It is a good question.
I couldn't answer this question because I haven't even thought of the answer. So, yeah, but I'm very anxiously.
See, we used to have a trivia rule that you couldn't ask a trivia question that you
I can give an
didn't
answer.
know the answer to.
It'd
just be a fake answer.
I think I know
Okay.
what my answer would be, and it's probably going to be a very different.
Because see, what's easy to lean into here is
let's lean into it.
Uh,
We're leaning in, folks.
An easy one would be, there's two. There's like my first year, like rerun era in the 70s and 80s.
When you first got exposed.
Yeah, and got excited, and it seemed like you had all day. I see people doing things now, and I go, oh, fine. Like, when do you do that? But I remember when I would spend every hour of the day fleshing out the tech manual, or organizing stars, or doing something, or adapting the Doomsday Machine to be shot on a college class budget. But also the next gen era and 90s when everything came together phase one with Macs and computers and laser printing, and I did my original books and self-sold them, and it wound up getting to be, that was fandom, but fandom was kind of getting to a level that I was about to launch into prodom. Does that make sense?
Prodom?
It's the opposite of fandom.
I have never heard that word before.
I just made it up. But
that would be why I've never heard that word before.
No, I mean, like, when I got the point where I crossed over and started getting paid for my Trekishness. We moved to LA. The book went pro, other things happened after that. I got paid.
Yeah.
Right, that was a thing.
Being paid is a nice era to
So-
keep being stuck.
So I mean that would be so. There's two. Like one is more innocent, and one is like I got nothing else to do. I'm just a kid and a student, and I can pour all my extra time into Star Trek. Not just love of Star Trek, but like this is missing, so I'm going to do this to add to the pile, which I didn't know that's what I would wind up doing. Now I look back at it, that's what I was doing. But yeah. So I guess if I'm gonna, because nostalgia, it's hard to be just talk about the facts of fandom and what was going on in the big picture without including your own personal.
Of course.
Stake in it.
Yeah, of course. That's why I was very curious what your answer was.
And there were only 79 episodes. There wasn't 700. So I've got two answers. One is like the TNG years, right before I sold the book and I was doing my own.
Late 80s, early 90s, and that's really when you started.
Yeah.
You became. That's the origin story of Dr. Trek.
It is.
Really begins right there. Yeah.
Or like high school, college days.
When you first
when
got
everything was
exposed.
woo.
Yeah, when it was new. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you the short version of my answer, which is the 90s.
Sorry for that not short version because I was.
I want the long version. Are you kidding me? We only have 5 questions, Larry. We need to stretch this out.
But only 3 people are watching now. So.
we got our usual folks here. Everyone's here. I would say the 90s when so much was happening.
Look at Libby.
Yeah. Oh, and Larry talked me into submitting a spec script
I think
to
she had
DS9.
Yeah.
We got a lot of answers here. I would say the 90s because there was so much happening.
Mm-hmm.
And also the internet was coming online and I was getting connected to a larger fandom. And it was amazing time to be a Star Trek fan. That would be the era I'd
as opposed to, say, 2006 when it was depressing as hell.
Yeah, it was not. That would not be the era I would keep living. But we actually got, Scott says, that's a tough question. A lot of fun eras for different reasons. I usually go to the same era of Broadway so I can see original casts of certain shows. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's the thing. I started to say, 1+ for the earlier time period is everybody was still alive.
Oh, man, Larry.
I say everybody. I mean, the people who have passed.
Yeah.
You can still see Dee and Jimmy and...
Yeah.
Well, okay, Leonard, too. The early passers, yeah.
Yeah,
and Mark Leonard, and
Yeah, that is a really good point. We had a lot of love for the 70s here. Jim says 1970s fandom was nicer, but 1990s fandom was excellent as well.
70s fandom was totally. I want to say, I start to say innocent, but I mean it was. Because there was nobody had written this book. There was no template.
Yeah, it was all new.
Yeah,
and also the zines was all such a fan base community. Creation Entertainment was not a business. It was really a fan.
Those guys, Adam and Gary, 2 14-year-olds, they're in there to make a buck when they're 14.
But it was not an enterprise as it is now. It was a business.
No, it was,
But it was more of a 1701 no
like
bloody A, B, C, or D.
Yeah.
It was not a D.
Yeah.
Now it's a D.
And it was certainly not a defiant voyage. Okay.
Libby says,
had much discovery.
Except for my ex, the 90s. Sometimes friends call it the Sci-Fi Club. We would watch DS9 together. My doctor once called me to see if I'd recorded an episode he'd missed. My brother even called me to borrow a VHS copy of DS9. What nostalgia there. Jared says the 2000s fandom. The internet was still new enough to bring people together, but the trolls had not perfected their craft. Oh, Jared, that's a good answer, too. All right, Larry. Question 2. We're on to round 2.
Okay. Oh, this is back to me.
Back to you.
This is where I'm going to be in trouble because I didn't
And now, back to Dr. Trek.
Yeah, we don't have the singing quartet doing the spam commercial. Okay.
Question 2. Question 2. We're moving on to question 2.
Okay. Oh, I did have a second question that I thought of about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Have you ever been, since you've been going to conventions,
Yeah.
and broadcast the fact that and advertise the fact that you're a geek psychologist, you're a psychologist who has this interest, and that's why you're there.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a fan come up to you at a convention with a problem? Like, you're at the convention to have fun.
Yeah.
You're not even like presenting a panel, or maybe if you are and you did it, but you're there as a fan to have fun, and somebody who knows you or knows you're a psychologist, or you're introduced to them, what do you do? Oh, I was like, have you ever had at a convention somebody go, oh my God, my dad died and my dog has a split personality or the other way around or something, and wanted you to like, and they're desperate and they're sad and you feel for them, but you're like, I'm on my fun time here and I can't help you in 5 minutes. And
I mean, this is something you can probably relate to, which is going to a convention as Dr. Trek or as Dr. Ali is different than going to a convention as Larry or Ali.
I've never gone to a convention as Dr. Ali. Maybe I should.
You can, and then maybe you might have a psychological problem as a result of that. But it is a weird experience of it's fun and it's also work. It is a mixture of professional, like going here.
Because here's the thing, there are yes.
We were just talking about this going to.
I didn't know I was supposed to bring my placard for
Yeah, Larry.
No,
I mean, I got a placard for you right there.
And
do you want that?
No, I don't need that.
I've got my.
So, but the Enterprise?
That's the Enterprise 1701D plaque. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got the plaque right here. Let me. I mean, I can't mention it and then not put it on air
because he's got no expense spared here in the great Show studio.
Yeah, I got my 1701 plaque, and as I always mention, my Kelvin is right there. It is right there. I love that ship. Anyways, you asked me a good question, and I should give you a good answer.
Everything aboard that ship is the Kelvin universe. No, because I mean that separately. Now,
it's a pocket universe.
I mean, Ryder.
Like Beverly's stuck in a bubble. And it's getting smaller. She better get out.
Which I don't know what Beverly's complaining about, because women always say they wish they had pockets. And I don't blame them. I know lots of women who say they want to design a whole clothing line.
I've just found a clothing line of all gender inclusive clothing for kids, and all of them have pockets. So we're very excited because my daughter, she is almost 4. She's turning 4 soon. Always complains that there's no pockets in her clothes, and I'm like, I know this is sexism. This is not okay. Anyways,
yes,
we have a real
what I was going to say
yeah.
was because it's. I mean, I think it's sad. Also, it's kind of the nature of the beast. But writers and artists,
yes,
who are there as guests, like you're on a panel, you get off the panel, you walk down at a Comic-Con, especially, or in the bar.
Comic-Con.
Is this what it's like?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But they're kind of used to fans coming up either quasi-professionally or not professionally at all and bugging them about what they do. But what they do is more in the realm of what they're all there for. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
yes.
Writers and artists and all that, producers, CGI guys, gals, prop people, the costumers, they're used to people coming, and sometimes they invite it. But psychology and counseling is not exactly a thing that you're at a sci-fi con for.
Yeah.
So it's more like it comes in.
And I go there because I am promoting a business as well. Mm-hmm. My YouTube channel, I'm promoting that, which I do earn revenue from, and that also supports a speaking business and everything that comes out of that. Just like Trekland, like we have to these. Taco Bell glasses just don't buy themselves, folks.
These Taco Bell glasses don't just manufacture themselves either.
Yeah. Well, if you have a replicator, let's not get into the economics of Star Trek.
Would you replicate Taco Bell on it, or would you take the brand off?
I think it needs to be spec perfect, so the Taco Bell's on there.
If you're
So this is a phenomenon.
This glass was life used.
It's a phenomenon that happens from time to time when
It's still weird not to be like looking at the camera.
I know.
Because I'm at home, I'm like looking
Stay
dead
on target. Stay on Wait, wrong franchise. Wrong franchise.
Yeah. You're streaming the crosses.
No, I should not do that. Dumbledore does not like it when you do that. Oh, we can't talk about Harry Potter. It's gone now. Anyways,
has Harry Potter become non-PC or just J.K. Rowling?
J.K., but it's complicated. Is there a death of the artist when the artist is still alive and making a ton of money off the property? That is a conversation for a different podcast. Yes. We are talking about this. So therapy. When I identify myself as a therapist or a psychologist, it naturally opens up conversations related to mental health. Just yesterday, I was at a bike shop. bicycle shop. I'm not getting a motorcycle. Too scared of that. But I wore a shirt that said that it was actually a gift from a patient, which says therapy makes you hotter. And the bike mechanic said, "Oh, are you a therapist?" And I was like, "How do you know?" And they're like, "Well, your shirt." I was like, "Oh, I forgot I was wearing this." And that conversation opened up a conversation about anxiety and anxiety in the world right now, which is really quite delightful.
He was worried about the bike industry collapsing?
No, he was talking about like parents and kids and how to help kids and how things have changed. Really like right up my alley because it's my passion too. Sometimes I identify myself as a psychologist and people talk about the struggles that they're going through. I would say in conventions, I cannot remember one time when someone's like unloaded on me. Most of the time people talk about what we presented on the panel, or they talk about the impact that Star Trek's had on their life in a positive way, how it's helped them, how it's brought families closer together, how it's influenced their careers. There was one time, actually, someone did unload on me, but
I knew.
It was at Star Trek The Experience, and I was not a therapist yet. I wasn't in grad school. I was in undergrad, and I was just talking about the shirt I wanted to buy.
And the shirt that you were wearing said, "Kiss me, I'm a future therapist."
Yeah. It actually, the shirt I was getting was, I think I've worn it once on the show. It was, I'm with Illogical, with the arrow pointing. And I do remember that person kind of unloading the stuff they were going through, but I was not a therapist. I was just a college student. So it happens from time to time, and I know therapists who... I have a colleague who, when they're in public, someone asks them what they do. You know what he says?
He's a plumber.
No, he says, "I'm an accountant."
Yeah, that's even better. Yeah.
No one will ask you a follow-up question when you say that. But Larry, I really don't believe in doing that because I'm in the business. What this is about, what the Psych Show is about, is starting conversations. This, what this is...
very nice.
Yeah, what this is about... I don't know if you can see
you can't
the Psych
see.
Show. There it is.
Hold
There
on
it
a minute.
is.
Let's-
There it is.
there.
Thank you for reducing the glare.
Yeah.
What this is
It's
about...
what I do.
What this is about is making it easy to have these conversations. And what this is about is this bold, optimistic future of us improving and getting better. And so if someone wants to have that conversation, we're going to have that conversation. And it's, I will find, if it's getting too much, I will find a way to communicate that. But no, I welcome conversations around mental health.
I couldn't tell this long distance when we're separate, but I would get my money back on this.
Tell me, why?
Because one of the index numbers on the secondary hull here is about, in scale, it would be about 3 inches too low. It's awesome.
That's a QMX who I'm still waiting for their new their Star Trek Discovery Enterprise badges. They were supposed to come out with them. They haven't.
QMX.
I don't know what's going on.
So do you say Bassard or Bussard?
I say Bizarre collectors.
Do you say potato or potato? No.
What's the correct?
I don't know. I think it's probably Bassard, but I think most people say Bussard, just because we don't know, and it's more Anglo to say Bussard. I'd like to know this. If anybody knows, because they're named for a scientist.
Yes.
It's
So
a real
there's definitely some.
Oh look, people are still chatting.
Yeah, we've got some good comments over here.
Let's look at chats because I've gone through my true questions. Okay.
Phil says, I also have 7-Eleven Slurpees Trek cups. I don't remember those. What was the time?
That was, I think, when these got too expensive.
Yeah.
Later. Phil, what were they from?
What are they from? I'm guessing. Let's guess.
Later movies or next gen movies?
I'm guessing they are probably from Star Trek 6 or Generations, is my guess.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Plastic.
I think that's
cheaper than
peak
the glass.
7-Eleven Slurpee and peak Star Trek brand tie-in.
Yes.
I'm putting my money on that.
Crossing those streams.
Yeah, so I have a question.
Oh, look,
here.
no, you had to go. You just lost it. There was somebody great.
Yeah.
Here, Karen's got a great one.
Yeah.
She says, I went to a therapist, started talking about Trek, and she rolled her eyes.
So that's just invalidating in general. Doesn't matter if it's Star Trek or
Yeah,
what.
right.
It's about a relationship, and no matter what.
Good choice, Karen.
Yeah.
Was this an Okie therapist, Karen? Oklahoma City therapist?
Oh, there's great folks all over.
I'm saying that as as an expat. I can do that. You can do that when it's in the family.
Charlotte says, that happens to me sometimes, but not with therapy. I'll forget I'm wearing a Star Trek shirt or something, and someone will give me a Vulcan salute, which I'm always happily returned, but I'm also confused. Like, how did they know? And then I remember what I'm wearing. Charlotte, one of my friends in college, her name's Alex, and it was like orientation or something, and we had to log into our email to get something, and she opened up her email, and you could set a background for your email, and she had the Enterprise 1701D as her background. And so after that, I said, "Oh, so you're a Star Trek fan?" And she immediately turned red. And I was like, how did you know? How did you know? Is it what?
Is it on my T-shirt?
Yeah. Is it on what? And I'm like, "Oh, your email. You had the Enterprise." And she's like, and I said, "Dude, I'm a big fan too. Don't worry. I'm a huge. And I think I
when
gave
was
an emergency.
this? What year was this?
Early 2000s.
See?
Yeah.
The geeks had not totally won by then. You still had to
And
be
it
in the
was-
closet.
This is why I love the Kelvin timeline.
like I'm telling you guys.
This
and gals.
is why I love the Kelvin timeline. It made Star Trek mainstream in a way that made it easy to have these conversations. We'll get into that more
It could have been okay. Having movies in the aughts did that. They could have been anything and done well.
Maybe.
My story like that is I usually have an OU phone case. It's
Yeah.
also red and sticks out. And I was in between having a case for a new phone, and we were trying. Actually, it was for continues, and I wanted a case on my phone, and I didn't want to go buy a $25 case at that moment. And I looked around, and I had an old like a freebie promo case for, of all things, for STID. You know what STID is?
I don't know what that is.
That's what I call it. Star Trek Into Darkness. So it was a
my
freebie
gosh.
giveaway phone case meant to be a prize or something for Star Trek Into Darkness, and I just slapped it on my phone for this trip. And so I got to the Continue Studios and took all kinds of guff over that. But then it took me a year to get a real case. And I'd be checking out at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And I just put my phone down to pay or whatever, and the checkers and whatever, random people everywhere would go, "Oh, you're a Star Trek fan." And my first reaction, and it was totally, benign, cheerful. Nobody was like, but it was like all these innocents, but they were positive. It was me that would go, oh, yeah, but not because of this.
Right,
it was
right,
like,
right.
oh yeah, but don't judge me from that.
Right. Yeah.
And they're
yeah.
they're like, okay. It's like, thank you for, almost like, thank you. If it went past 5 seconds, it was like, thank you for enjoying Star Trek or noticing, or you must be Star Trek adjacent,
Star Trek adjacent.
You must be, are you Trek curious?
Trek.
You know what I mean, though?
Yeah, sci-fi fluid. Yes.
But you totally know what I mean.
Oh, I totally know
It
what you
totally
mean.
turned on me, like
yeah.
your friend with the
Yeah.
email. It was
Oh,
like me to go,
totally.
yeah, but don't judge me by the STID.
So we got an update from Phil. They're in storage, so I don't remember exactly what is on them. However, what Jared just said...
Someone's looked it up on eBay.
Slurpee cups were released in 1991 for the 25th anniversary. 1991 coinciding with probably...
Star Trek 6.
Star Trek 6.
Yeah, that was the 6th anniversary movie.
Yeah,
And Spock
makes
on
total-
Next Generation. And and then trading the prop
Unification.
plate.
Unification. I have a question for you. Okay. Tying it back to mental health. What is helping you to boldly go right now? Like what is your coping skill? What's helping you to kind of move forward in this wacky phase of the pandemic we're in right now?
Do you know what it's dawned on me, not dawned on me slowly, but I actually told
Dawned
other
on you
people.
slowly sounds like the beginning of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I don't know what, this is the international symbol for also Zach.
That is the international symbol for 2001. We got the monolith appearing.
I don't know. I guess so. Okay. Can we go back to the earphones? Okay.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, the dawn of what?
Yeah.
Oh, what are we talking about?
No, Seriously, I was talking about this the other day. I think everybody has felt saner, like in fandom, but I mean in culture in general. I know it's driven some people crazy.
Yeah.
If they had to be there 24/7, but just having the virtual compatibility. But me, it's not just being able to do this, but having my shows and the audiences, and being able to connect with not just everybody here in the States, but around the world, and having. Like a lot of you guys are here today, and gals are here today from around the world, but the Europeans and the Australians reminding me that it's not just the States, for good and bad.
Yes.
And that everybody's in a different situation. The Germans, the Brits, everybody. In Mexico, had some Latin Americans be on. But a lot of people reminding me, keeping me fresh about the global perspective on this, which is good. But so it's like, so you're not too much in your little, I'm not so much in my little California rut, much less my Okie rut back home. But that's been a thing through the pandemic, that I've been very happy for this, not just to feel like, like the portal can keep going as a business, but all the things, both of the shows like this and Tuesday Live. And, I realize that it's good to hear from everybody. It's like we all have our own little news bureaus everywhere.
Yeah.
We all kind of,
This, I have met and connected with so many people in this room who have never been in this room. You're probably the first one. You were definitely the first one.
I broke the pattern.
Yeah. And that's a really great point, Larry. I'm constantly thinking about our global community for Life Support Live, because you all have... given us that perspective and context, because it's so
I think it was keeping me honest, although it's not a matter of honesty. I mean, it's keeping me well
grounded,
well vibed,
maybe?
Well perspectivized.
Yeah, because look how privileged.
Make up your own word.
Look how privileged we are. We're in the same room, both vaccinated. We can be unmasked. This is all safe. But it's other parts of the world are not in the same situation.
Although I still don't travel anywhere.
Yeah. I got mine up. I have a basket.
Oh, I
got a basket full of masks, Captain.
We put little hooks by our front door so we could just.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you saw our hooks on the way in. I have the same. Cool. Well, Larry,
How about chat?
Jared says you need to talk to Ali into coming to Galley for a day. What's Galley?
Galley is Gallifrey 1 is the Who convention in LA in February.
Yeah. Doctor Who.
Although they have a lot of things represented. It's primarily Doctor Who, but as Sean, the organizer, told me, he's like, Who fans have other interests too, Larry.
Does Deadpool show up there? Someone usually always is dressed as Deadpool anywhere. Yeah, always breaking the fourth wall.
There was that Deadpool at Vegas in 2017.
Of course, there's always going to be something. Libby says, "This seems to be the only 2 hours in a week. I am not lonely, even though I can get out and move more. The loneliness has been horrid." I understand that, Libby. I definitely understand, and that's why we do this.
I have found myself the last week or two thinking about, like, we packed for this road trip. Mm-hmm. I was like, I haven't looked at this bag in a year. Wait, where's my truck? Like,
I felt this last week when I was away. And sorry, folks, we weren't here last week. It was because I was away. But I was like, how do I do this? How do I pack things? What do I need?
My wife was exhausted. She was like, wait, I used to go... Yeah.
Glinda says it's beautiful to see you in the same room.
Oh, even if it's this room.
Yeah, I would... Beauty and us in a room, I would not use those words, but thank you.
The same sentence.
Yeah. And Charlotte says it's hard to keep perspective sometimes, especially here in California where things are getting better than other states. Mm-hmm. Just read yesterday that San Francisco may be the first major city to reach herd immunity. It's not quite there yet, but well on track. Hey, as the place where our crew visited, maybe McCoy gave those little pills, and not only was everyone growing a new liver, but they were also growing COVID immunity.
They were growing a new kidney. I'm sorry. I
And
had
folks,
to do it.
just like that, I have lost all I need
if
to
it
take
wasn't
this
me,
off.
you would have got it all from the chat if it wasn't.
I know.
Doc
I
says we gotta grow a
appreciate
new kidney.
I appreciate
Doc says
this.
we gotta grow a new kidney.
You know, there's so many. I feel like I want to do some show and tell here. I don't know why, but there's all these things off camera that I was showing Larry that he's never seen before. That I have here. I might even cross the streams later and show you something from a different franchise that I just got.
What is that piece of art? I keep thinking somebody like
Which
a pen.
one?
A pen exploded.
This?
Oh, I see. It's got
Yeah, it's
When you're just looking at it at this.
My wife could tell you who the artist is, but it just reminds me of children walking, which I love. This is a neuron.
Okay.
That you know very well.
That's a
And-
bridge on.
This is an autograph from the greatest Batman, from Batman the Animated Series.
Oh.
And then this.
Oh wow.
This is a.
You can barely read Adam West's signature, but
West.
it's.
That right there is the it's the printout from Mary Cover Jones, who does not get the credit she deserves. She's the mother of behavioral therapy. All these other psychologists were learning about behavioralism and doing things like getting kids afraid, conditioning them to become afraid of different things. And Mary Cover Jones said, hey, wait a minute, this stuff, we could probably use this to undo anxiety and help people overcome their fears. That's a printout from the first study, her first study, that showed you can use exposure therapy to help people overcome their anxiety.
Oh.
She's the mother of it all, and you rarely hear about her in the history
I'm
books.
glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking it was really weird for you to have the logo from Woody Allen's Manhattan.
It does look like that.
Especially now. But anyway,
Yeah. Okay, so who asked a question? I asked you a question, right?
No, I asked
Boldly
you.
go. What's helping you to boldly go? Now it's your turn.
Oh shoot. Well, see,
I can ask another one if you need some time.
let's look at the chat. I thought of two.
I have 5 for you, Larry.
I know. Okay, this idea came up last night, so don't.
Yeah. There is some questions if you want to.
I'm on quasi vacation too.
There's a few questions here from our audience that I've saved. If you'd like to pick one of these for me, feel free to.
Okay. No. Let's see. Oh, that's a good. Let me run down here a minute. There's one for you there.
You pick whatever.
I know, but I'm saying that's one for you.
No. I'm looking forward to LeVar Burton guest hosting Jeopardy. This should be fun.
Okay. Oh, that's wow. Wow. This one down here is too mind-boggling. You could do a whole panel from it.
Too mind-boggling.
Okay, I'm gonna do the Nathaniel's here at the very top.
Nathaniel's at the very top.
Yeah.
What you want to ask it?
What can older Trek fans learn from those who are just discovering the franchise? I think it's
It's a question for me or for you?
No, I mean, I think one thing that I realized in myself, and now I see it's a thing that I feel like I think I can serve the public the way you do a little bit.
Yeah.
Is we all get, and I talk about this all the time, I think we all get into our, part of it is just being a human being, and it happens to us anyway. We forget time passing, and the older you get, the faster time passes. It's that people go, that's such a weird thing. And to me, years ago, math of it was like, well, when you're 5 years old, and you're waiting on the next year, say, if you celebrate Christmas, you're waiting for the next year for Christmas, and it feels like forever. Well, when you're 5, a year is a fifth of your life.
Yes.
It's 20% of your entire life.
This is why the pandemic has played out so differently for kids. Yeah.
When you're 10, it's only a tenth of your life.
Yes.
When you're 50, it's a 50th of your life. I mean, that's, so everything, it's fine for time to feel like it's going by faster the older you get. So, and you took it off.
Yeah. What can older fans learn?
Yeah. So I think sometimes when people are, say, Star Trek fans, and they're a kid, or they first find Star Trek and they're all immersed in it, and they don't go away from it, they keep it up. They either marry into it, or they have a friend gang that keeps it up alive, or whatever, or they get active as a con thrower, or a club thrower, or a page administrator now, whatever it is. and it's there, and you know what it was, and even for a few years, and you're active in things, but you still have the blinders on from the age you were when you came to it, and the longer your life goes and the longer Star Trek happens, we have the old pendulum swings, and life itself changes, and culture and media. And it's like I mentioned a while ago, all the folks who tried to watch DS9, and at the time nobody knew what serial shows were, much less if you wanted to watch it, you had to either watch it live or tape it, or if your VCR messed up, and you couldn't get it commercially.
You had to call, you as a doctor would have to call your patient and get a copy of the tape.
Right. But it's like all those people that you see on Facebook, people talk now. Kind of the acknowledgement is that as much as people love the original series and they love Next Generation, that DS9 is the show that has stood the test of time the most because of the serialized nature and a lot of the themes that they got into, the whole security versus personal liberty. 10 years before 9/11.
Yep.
10 years before Ron Moore went to those themes in Galactica. There are a lot of Black Father and Son on TV was groundbreaking, and no one paid attention in the 90s.
Still doesn't get the credit.
And still doesn't get the credit, right? But there, and I'm not plugging DS9 here. I'll do it sometimes, but. Well, my point is,
sir, do you have a question, or is this one of those comments at the mic storytelling?
My comment is, hey, Bucky, get your own show, and then you can do this. No, my comment is, a lot of people, when you see a Facebook thread, and somebody talks about DS9, and some random person will come in and go, yeah, I couldn't stand that show. I haven't watched it in 20 years. And they totally ruin it, and it's almost like they're out of time. It's like they just beamed in from 1994.
Yeah.
And that happens randomly. But then you also see people that go, I'm seeing more and more people who actually are saying, and thanks to streaming availability, I had no clue and no care about DS9 and for all the reasons. And I finally, my wife or my kid or my best friend made me sit down and watch it with them. And oh my God, yeah, there's rough spots, but but we forget that where we are is affecting us, or 20 years later, we're carrying that same frame without diving in fresh. Sure. And this whole thing about when the kids come along, Mr. Scott, fresh ideas, new faces, right? Whatever the line was. Whether it's something that's being created now or the way something old is being looked at, don't knock the new. Be glad for the new, because without the younger kids, i.e. a new perspective, we'd be stagnating.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, people that are... there's times you can critique anything, and I'm not saying everything is a blanket wonderfulness, but that's what I would say. I try to, in a nice way, remind all the older fans to, A, get out of your ruts, get out of your blinders. This is not 1990. It's good to remember history. You want the context, but don't bring 1995 into 2020 or 1970 into 2020, because the world is different, the culture is different, the media is different. The kids who are watching, I say kids, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds who are watching things, their world was shaped by different factors than now.
It's a really great question, Nathaniel / Larry.
So listen to the people who are younger than you, because their perspective from the world, as long as they're cogent.
Star Trek is always like every other franchise, like Doctor Who. It's
and
always
you can still
been
disagree.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always reinvented. You just wait long enough, and Star Trek will change, and that's going to happen with this era.
Which is why that's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
How was Shakespeare? Not to elevate it too much, but how was Shakespeare produced on first run and in the 1700s and the 1800s and the 2000s and now? Yeah.
I mean, it's a beauty of Broadway as well. Oklahoma, one of the best musicals, was recently redone and recast in a way that was so different than earlier versions. And you can that's a beauty of Broadway. It's also the beauty of Star Trek.
Well, it's a testament to their universality.
Yes.
If they weren't worth doing that to, if they had nothing new to say, then they wouldn't be that important.
Yeah, and I think that's a thing that
valuable
that more veteran fans can learn from the new fans. Is the new fans are coming at it with a lens of how media and stories are created right now. And if you look at the frenetic pace of Star Trek Discovery, it is in keeping with the frenetic pace of what TV has become right now, you know?
Well, it's the pace of watching
Of
30-second
this.
TikToks.
Yeah, absolutely. Which gets us to short treks, which I absolutely love. But I think that's what older fans can remember, and it's something you and I always go back to, which is, look at TNG. Like, people were pushing back against TNG when it was first created, and now it's such canon, and I use canon not in the terms of like storytelling, but more in like the religious connotation of canon. Like, this is the law. Like, TNG is so often elevated to this like purity in Star Trek.
You have the whole discussion about a lot of younger fans. They say, I want to, but I can't watch the original series because of the pacing or the hammy acting or whatever. And even though the visual effects have been updated to a point. But you see people talking about that, and then somebody will say, no, I mean the next generation. I don't mean the original series. And then people are like, what? What do you mean? And it's like, well, it was of its time, and that's fine. It's very, the handheld camera and the camera in motion and the jaggedy, point of view, manic. What'd you say? Frenetic? Yeah, yeah. But it's like, Laugh-In was supposed to be the groundbreaking, revolutionary, crazy, frenetic show. And you watch Laugh-In now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, this is fun. But
Yeah.
that was supposed to be such a shock to the system. But it was. I mean, it doesn't take it away from it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
A few comments over here related to this. Where did it go? So yes, I agree, Charlotte. Kevin Conroy, best Batman ever. Absolutely. We also, let me get rid of that one. Oh, okay. So Charlotte also says, I've gone through Star Trek phases in my life. When I was first into Star Trek was in utero, and I grew up with it. I'd say my adolescence, I moved away from it because teenagers. It wasn't until my late 20s or early 30s I came back to Trek. That's when I finally got into watching Voyager and Enterprise, and even getting to know TOS. I grew up on the movies, but I had never really watched the TV show. Then I started to hit the con circuit, and the rest is history. Absolutely. And then Charlotte also said, my student made a hip-hop musical film version of Shakespeare, As You Like, and it's amazing. Hip-hop version of a play musical, Larry, I don't know if that's ever going to catch on. Alexander Hamilton.
I was about to say, now.
Or In the Heights. In the Heights just came out on...
Mr. Mattu, young,
Yes.
fresh minds, younger thinking. Okay.
Scott says,
Kong.
I've always wanted Larry to do a show and tell, and now we get one from Ollie. Be careful what you ask for, Scott. There's a lot of other stuff in this room.
You may get it. Yeah.
And folks did immediately correct me. Doctor gave me a pill and gave me a new kidney. Okay. New question, Larry, for you. New question.
Did you go through all your tag?
Melanie says, Laugh-In, Smothers Brothers, classic stuff. Absolutely.
You had to be tough viewers to get through all that.
Yeah. And Charlotte says Shakespeare actually lends itself quite well to hip-hop. Absolutely.
And so does Star Trek.
Okay, here... Oh, this is a great follow-up to...
I feel like what are we doing? Playing password here? You're going to hand me the little thing here on your... No.
What aspect of Star Trek do you keep struggling with and keep working to dig deeper into the context of it? So the spirit of this question is we always talk about context, not trivia, right?
Texture, not trivia.
Texture, not trivia. And how do we dig deeper in the aspects of Star Trek that we might struggle with? How can we keep revisiting them to struggle with them less and get the texture of it? Now, what aspect of Star Trek do you keep finding that you need to keep doing that? Or what type of issues do you find yourself keep pushing yourself on when it comes to Star Trek?
Okay, I'm still not...
So what? So is it the Kelvin timeline? Is it a character or an episode, or is it a Star Trek trope that always kind of makes you feel like, gosh, I really don't like it when they do this. But hold on, let me try to get the texture of this. What is?
Oh,
Yeah, that kind of. that kind of thing.
Oh. Wow. I told you not to blow me out. The things, I mean, I'm sure I could think of something. What things about Trek do I still struggle with? Well, I mean, like, just the thing of, I mean, if you're talking about like something as simple as like retconning or what I always used to call canon smoothing, that's kind of like not superficial, but like if the implications of what it means are.
Jared says, I know the answer for that for Larry. It's the Kelvin timeline, but I'm not 100% convinced.
I don't dislike the Kelvin. I only dislike the Kelvin timeline because I knew that's what we would have for 10 years, and I just wanted to get back to stories that mattered.
Which it's not.
The
hasn't
movies
been 10
mattered.
years.
The movies mattered because they kept the commerce and the fandom alive, and they made Star Trek more responsible to a.
Well, and
they kept it alive in a drought when Star Wars and Marvel and all were getting all the attention.
I would say they mattered in a. I don't.
But to fans, I don't. I mean, and if you're a fan that came in with them, they will always be your first, and I would never take that away, and I don't. I'm just saying, in the big picture of Star Trek, the further we get away, if they're not added to,
I think. Do you mean?
That's my thing.
Do you mean mattered in the context of
what's
the
adding
the prime timeline and adding to the story? Yeah, I mean,
or even their own. If they'd had an animated series or a TV series that fleshed that out, then cool.
Which I would chalk up more to the CBS Paramount crap
for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I'd say they matter.
They're going to be these stubs,
and I think they will always matter to fans. But to the prime timeline story, I get where you're coming from. But yeah, what is the aspect of Star Trek
we've
that
had
we
we've had a compressed 3 or 4 years here where Discovery and Picard and now Lower Decks. Somebody said somewhere, I don't know if it was on our chat or somewhere I've just seen the last day. Somebody said a year from now there will be 6. Stranger, the 3 live actions and 5 anyway, 5 if not 6. Maybe they're
Star
counting
Trek
short
series,
tricks.
Prodigy. We got 2 animated.
2 animateds. And
3 we'll have 3 live action, and if Section 31 happens, we'll have 6.
And counting or not counting short treks or whatever. Anyway, there'll be 5 live action, not overlapping, so people aren't exhausted and worn out.
Yeah.
But there'll be 5 original Star Treks, airing one after the other, whatever, which we've never had before.
Yeah.
And even though they're short, mini seasons, baby seasons, there's still a format and a venue there that you have to put your mind into, and then even though they're connected in ways.
So what's your
We've
answer,
never
sir?
had that. What was the question?
What's the aspect of Star Trek that you find yourself consistently struggling with to get to that texture, not trivia point?
I mean,
you mentioned
maybe
the retconning, which is
I said,
something
the Kelvins, but I think in a broad sense, it's just as everything is diversified, and I don't mean, oh look, we have trans fans, and I don't mean that. I mean like as there's more. It's used to be you felt defensive, and people would say, we had 5 series or 4 series, and be like, what's your favorite series? I go, well, they're all. I said it earlier. They're all books on the shelf. It's like they're all my kids. I can't not like. Maybe I like this one more for this, and I like this one more for that. And maybe I had a personal, like Voyager was always the personal thing of watching the sausage be made, and I always felt like in the moment.
That's why the Intrepid is so narrow and small.
You know what? I
think
think
had to come out of
that's
the
the
sausage
thing too.
machine.
Let me say that.
Yeah.
It's about Voyager because I saw Voyager be made. I remember how UPN was. I remember the battles to get it done. I remember the battles inside the show. Not battles, but Voyager to me was always like the lost potential. And I remember watching the pilot and thinking,
well, it
wow,
was a lost potential. I mean, it could have served the Alpha Beta quadrant, and then it was lost.
And then the series Lost came along and took the title.
Oh, yeah, Lost.
But what's been a little bit of a struggle for me is I intellectually understand how little girls, young women, how...
The Janeway effect.
The Janeway Army is what I call... Yeah, the Janeway effect. And Seven. And I throw in Roxanne. I throw in B'Elanna into
Roxanne!
I didn't do that.
You have to fix the dilithium crystals. Roxanne!
I did not do that. She would shoot you if you did that.
You can't fix dilithium crystals. I don't know why.
But I'm thrilled Watching Voyager get cranked out, you kind of intellectually went,
Oh, and DS9 was the show with the first black captain, and Voyager's the show with the first woman captain. Aren't we progressive?
And
that
it
was an
appeared on the
intellectual
first
thing.
night of the first network for the 21st century.
Like
I'll
anybody-
never forget that. I was tuning in to watch
Anybody
Voyager,
cares.
and it said, UPN, the first night of the first network for the 21st century.
You're listening to UPN.
Which
Yeah.
now no longer exists.
One-
Thank you, CW.
One geometric shape for each
Yeah,
letter,
for each
name
letter.
in our
But the thing, and I hate to say a struggle, but the
Yeah.
thing I try to do now is, and I never try to throw water on anybody. Every fan, this is the thing about gay, the gay. If you're a Star Trek fan of anything, you're a Star Trek fan, absolutely. But not only that, I try to, if someone is new to that and fresh, I try not to get into a sincere critique mode. If somebody is still kind of new and fresh and raw, or if they feel like they've had to defend. So a struggle for me has been trying to, and it was easy with Discovery because it was like, we're trying to resurrect the franchise here. Don't shoot the thing. It's not like I'm gonna protest Discovery because here's the 47 things I don't like about it, and I'm a sane person. I'm not just a troll. Here are the things I don't like about Discovery, and I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to force them to take it back and make it better. And it's like, no, they'll just like not make Star Trek for 20 years, you dipshit. No, that's not how commerce works.
Yeah.
This is a trial balloon, and you have to come along with it to get what you want later on, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But with Voyager and the way it's evolved, I want to more than intellectually be thrilled for all the young girls and women that when they were 6 and 8 and 10, whether it was original run or reruns, they embrace it. I intellectually do, of course I do.
Yeah, no, that makes
But I had my personal relationship with Voyager, which is hard to overcome. Knowing that Kate and Jerry were fighting behind this, or Kate was upset behind the scenes, and the world didn't know that back then, and I was not about, and nobody did. But knowing that was, and knowing that the writers were turning over every, and that the network was fighting, and that it just never was the show it could have been out of the gate because it was watered down at the beginning.
As someone who was not
and having Janet come home working on the show and telling me all this.
Yeah.
Like it was a workplace
I
thing,
get it.
yeah.
I get it, and that makes a lot of sense. I've definitely seen.
So I've struggled to try to put my personal memory behind it and see what the impact and the legacy of Voyager has been for people.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I've seen that in our
Did that get to your
discussions.
question?
Totally.
Okay.
That's exactly it. And I've seen that in our
Do I get a bonus
discussions. You will get a bonus question very soon. And
Points.
that makes sense given our conversations. As someone who watched Voyager without any knowledge of any of that, it was such a different experience for me. I love the show.
That's what I grapple to get back to.
Yeah, and it's. I think the Janeway effect is also, as someone who identifies. Oh, I'm off screen. As someone who identifies as
I'm hogging my
male,
half of the bed. Okay.
just growing up with Janeway, there was like no question of women in leadership. It was just Janeway was. This is just a default. It was never like an issue because it was always there. So there's so many wonderful things about Voyager. And now I know about the behind the scenes stuff now later, many, many years after watching it. And so for me, it's easier.
And you still don't curse me. How nice.
Off air, maybe. Okay. Do you want my next question or do you want to take a viewer question?
Let's do the chat. Let's do a viewer question.
Okay. I have a lot here.
I thought you had a whole.
I have a whole section, a whole kit and caboodle.
And whose voices we haven't seen?
No, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Phil also, while we're selecting, Phil said, I was upset with myself when I found out that Star Trek was airing against Laugh-In, because Laugh-In is what we watched. But then again, I was 4 or 5 at the time. How about this one?
That's the one I said, wow, you could do a whole panel on that.
Yeah. Should we do this one?
Sure, we'll give Rose a shout out.
Rose, one of our original viewers from so long ago, from 60 episodes ago now. Do you want to ask this one?
68, 69, somewhere back about.
Yeah.
1968, 69. Rose, what do you think would have happened if Star Trek did not happen, and what would sci-fi look like? Well, this is easy, Rose, because my mind just melted down, and I have no idea. Well, if Star Trek hadn't happened, where would those urges have gone? Because you know what happened to me? I actually had somebody bop in to my Tuesday's Trekland Live. Somebody actually came in who was a Star Wars troll. I'd never had that happen, and I mean like a troll, and said, ha ha ha, something about trying to. Why is Star Trek like, bowing at the knee of Star Wars or something? It was like so tokenly, whatever. And all I had to do was, that's cute.
You know what's in here?
It's something in a gray plastic case. Oh. Whose is it?
Mace Windu's, who has the greatest lightsaber.
When we remodeled our house, we almost got some Mace Windows.
I had his lightsaber there too, but I haven't connected it because I don't want my daughter
It's totally
playing with
fine. It's totally fine.
it. So yes, crossing the streams, more show and tell.
Yeah.
You were saying.
So I actually had a troll come in and did the really juvenile Star Trek can like lick Star Wars boots or something like that. I don't know, but I was just saying was like, wow, I finally got a troll. This is awesome. I mean, I totally I said, and by the way, you might want to check your history because there would have been no Star Wars without the way you know it without Star Trek.
You are Jared. There it is. Jared's wondering if I got the blade.
Oh,
it's right here.
Yes, it's a gay young blade. So I mean, and I just used to say, it's just the math. But there's a lot of the way conventions are, the way commercial fandom and licensed products, and the dominoes coming out of Star Trek. I don't know. Would we just have struggled along with one-off projects that were good? I can't believe that. I have to think that the world developing and all that would have found some way to express these ideas, and what they would have looked like. I have no clue, but.
The world of science fiction would be different because of and the world of science would be different. All the people who are influenced by Star Trek, both behind the scenes, writers, directors, producers, but then also people whose lives were impacted by becoming...
We would talk into comlinks because that's what the man from U.N.C.L.E. had.
Well, like the StarTAC Motorola phone. We can go into the whole list. Like that would be a whole panel. All the ways in which the world has been influenced by Star Trek. It would be a very different place. But if you look at the world of science fiction, I still think there aren't many Star Trek-like shows. There aren't many optimistic visions of the future. We have...
Especially the last 10 years again.
No, there's not.
It's a lot like the 60s again.
In a lot of ways, there haven't been too many Star Trek copycats. But I do think the world of science fiction would be far less rich. You also wouldn't have things like Battlestar Galactica, the new one. You wouldn't have all the people and Brian Fuller, all the shows that Brian Fuller has created, the writer rooms that came out of the people who were influenced by Star Trek. It would be a far less. It wouldn't be as rich of a place because of the missing impact of Star Trek.
Well, it's if it hadn't been there, would it have evolved? Would any of these threads have evolved the way they have? Would they have started somewhere on the way?
You can't pull on a thread, Larry. It unravels the tapestry of science fiction.
Yes, it
There
does.
you go, folks.
But the idea, if you haven't already.
To tapestry.
To tapping.
And to...
to clinking. We could do that.
Absent Friends.
Absent Friends.
Absent
You
Friends.
have to hunch down into your Absent Friends.
Absent Friends. Not the Nemesis version, the original series.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were saying. What were we saying?
Nemesis.
I don't know what we were saying. Libby says...
You have to drink like original series movie people drink.
How did they drink?
They go like this. First it's they're going to do a line.
Yeah.
So it's it's blue probably or something. Or red.
Genesis forbid!
You always purse your lips.
Oh, yeah, they do that.
Yeah,
They
see?
do that. Yeah, they absolutely do
That's 23rd century canon drinking.
Christoph says we wouldn't have life support live or
Trickling Tuesdays Live.
Tuesday or 44/7.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. You might not have Dr. Ali either. I mean, I think I would still exist, but I don't know if I would have become a psychologist.
Your parents met while watching.
I wouldn't. I might not have become a psychologist. Star Trek is what made me fall in love with science fiction, what made me fall in love with psychology, the questions that were asked, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, our lives would have been very different. What would if... Here's a fun
I don't know
question.
if I wouldn't have met my wife.
Well, your life would have been very different. Here's here's a good, just a quick question. Had you not been exposed to Star Trek, what would you be doing now?
Oh, I'd probably be trundling along in news somewhere.
Oh, I could definitely...
Trying to figure out how to bridge news.
You'd be pulling your hair out covering the news.
Well,
you want to talk about
that
toxic fandom?
Yeah. No, I would be like I was doing it in the 80s. Like I was bumping my head against. If I want to be married and have a family. I can't do it on this salary, and I was going to have to like start climbing the little ladder of. Oh, I'm going to be a managing editor in a little town somewhere. I mean, yeah. That world of in print news, because I wasn't a TV person. But then 10 years later or whatever, 15 years later, we'd have the digital revolution now. Like the walls are so like print people go out, they take their own pictures, they do video bits. Print reporters go somewhere because their newspaper, if they still work at a newspaper, they have a website and they have to throw video on their news. So it's like all print people are now TV reporters. They're just not being paid for it. Anyway,
I would say...
Support your local news, by the way.
Yeah.
We need journalists more than ever.
And we need local news more than ever.
Because they're filling in the gaps the nationals aren't getting to.
Yeah. I would say the closest I could imagine myself doing something else would be law. But that's only because when I was a kid, I watched The Rainmaker, and I thought it was a cool movie, and I thought it was cool that Matt Damon brought down this evil corporation. I thought it was cool that Matt Damon brought down the captain of Sequest DSV, Nathan Bridger. This is how my mind works. I'm like, it's a captain from Sequest.
Without
He's
a
bad.
dolphin in sight.
Without Darwin corporate fraud. That sounded way too much like Genesis guy.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Larry. Rose, that was an excellent question.
Yeah.
Everyone was saying how much their mind was breaking trying to answer this and trying to think of a world without Star Trek. Okay, I have a question.
don't care what they say. I won't play in a world without Star Trek.
Great transition. My next question. The musical you know all the words to better than Data. The musical you know all the words to better than Data.
Well, okay.
Like I know it's a conceit because Data knows all.
Well,
but
no one can know a musical better than Data. Okay, so number one, I'm just going to say the thing that's kind of in your DNA, in my DNA, and me, and other few other people, probably Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was guessing.
But then there's another
Oklahoma, where the Larry gets mad when I sing.
which everybody goes to. But what about the story with the fringe on top? And what a beautiful morning. And,
Oh,
I'm not going to sit here and defend Oklahoma because it was what it
It's
was.
a wonderful Broadway.
It is.
It's a wonderful musical.
It is.
It's got stuff happens.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's been any like PC embarrassments to it as the years have gone by.
It's been. I mean, my wife saw one of the last things she did before we moved out of New York was she saw the revival and said it was amazing, fantastic, and so modern and yet true to the spirit of the. Yeah, it's yeah. But let's do non-Oklahoma because that's obvious.
There is a musical that I have loved since I stumbled into it in college, and it's. For years and years and years, I kept saying, someday I'm going to be somewhere, even if it's like a community theater thing or something, where I can do it. Because there was a role I wanted to play, but also I just wanted to do it. And it's of the same time as Will Rogers, my hero.
Yeah.
I want to say it's Kaufman and Hart, but it's of Thee I Sing. It's a political parody musical.
Wow.
Where the presidential campaign, one of the people, it's like been so blandized up, and it's about personalities. And one of the presidential candidates, his secretary has been pining for him, but he's single. and he has no idea that she's got a crush on him and loves him because she's his secretary, and then they finally profess their love for each other, but he decides to make it a campaign thing. This whole thing it's tongue in cheek, but he's like, okay, if you vote for me for president, I'll marry my secretary, and the whole thing is one of the songs is "Love is Sweeping the Country." Love is sweeping the country, waves are hugging the shore. All the sexes from Maine to Texas have never felt such love before.
I like it.
See something. Anyway, there's small C stuff, but there's a whole side. So the comedy lead is the guy they get to be vice president. His name is Alexander Throttlebottom.
Alexander Throttlebottom. My name is Alexander Throttlebottom.
That's not a song.
It's
yeah, see, but
crossing the streams.
okay, crossing the stream. Oh. Yes.
There you go.
Okay.
Now
okay.
it's clicking in. The neurons are
it.
firing.
But anyway, the upshot, the drama is that there is a Southern belle who was supposedly in. They had a beauty. Oh, that's how it is. They have a beauty pageant to pick his wife. I know. And now you would make fun of it.
Yeah.
So it was fixed so that his secretary would win it. Oh no, So the Southern belle wins the beauty pageant. She's supposed to be his wife, but in the end they went, this is stupid. Here, it's her. I'll marry my secretary that really loved me all along. So the Southern belle who's rejected is like going to sue him and cause a scandal over it.
Okay.
And he gets elected, but then she gets behind a movement and she was wronged and there's a whole soliloquy. And they impeach him over not taking the girl who was going to... And there's a whole thing...
This is the most Broadway political musical.
And well, it's 30s, but there's a lot of stuff in it that's still very relevant.
Yeah,
And if you do it, and I always wanted to do it in an election year, because part of it is, this is whatever your modern, there's seriousness and all that, but whatever the stupidity of the modern politic is, you can pull out of here and...
Well, that's a great thing about Broadway is it's like Shakespeare can keep coming back, and there's some wacky things that can happen. But we got some... for me, I'll give you my answer real quick. It's Rent.
And this was very obscure, and the main reason I knew about it was there was a TV production done in 1972 where... Carol O'Connor played Wintergreen, and Cloris Leachman played Secretary, and Jack, what's his name?
I was going to say Jack Black, but the timeline wouldn't
the
have.
guy that did he did the Cracker Jack commercials when I was a kid. I can't think of his... A comedian, you'd know him, character actor. He played Throttlebottom. And there were other... Anyway, but it was a bomb as a TV special. And I found the 8-track of the soundtrack and I recorded it off. So you can get the original Broadway recordings.
Yeah.
But I knew... Anyway, that was way too much of a tangent.
So, as Robert says, love seeing Rent. My answer is Rent because it's the first show I saw on Broadway in New York. And I fell in love with it. We're not gonna pay rent. I love the show. I for so many reasons I can sing all of Rent. But Karen says Chicago, and yes, a theater nerd as well as a Trek nerd. Karen, you are not alone because look at these comments. Melanie says the Music Man. Karen says Grease Lightning.
Charlotte, what the hell just happened? Did I miss something?
I think I don't know. I don't know. We did something. But Charlotte, speaking of Charlotte, says Into the Woods. Into the Woods, Into the Woods. Wonderful musical right there. Of the I Sing is Gershwin.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. Robert says La Miserable.
But did Kaufman and or Hart do the book? Do the script?
Oh.
Gershwin did do the music, yes.
Phil says West Side Story. Officer Cronkite. No, not Cronkite.
Crunky, isn't it, or something? Gee, Officer Crunky.
Cronk-you.
Yeah.
Something
Whatever
like
it is.
that.
Yeah.
I'm so pretty, so pretty. Charlotte says Wicked for me. Karen says Mamma Mia. And Scott says Oklahoma was formative to American musical theater. Thank you very much. Jim says Guys and Dolls. Yeah, that had a great revival a few years ago. Melanie also says The Sound of Music. Did you know that The Hills are alive with the sound of music over here in Silicon Valley. Did you know that?
I knew they were alive with the sound of cash and circuit chips. But okay.
Fun story about Sound of Music. It was the first
promised.
musical my daughter loved, and she knows all the words to all the lines. When we are driving and we see the hills that make Silicon Valley, we are a valley surrounded by Mount Hamilton and Mount Diablo. She asked me, "Daddy, is that where Maria lives from the Sound of Music?" I'm like, "Yeah, she's up there. She's singing
How
right now."
does she know the sound? Do you all show her the Sound of Music?
Yeah, we showed in the pandemic when we all got too much screen time.
They only have like 2 tapes and 1 CD, one DVD out there. So
I've got my last question for you.
the
Larry.
Sound of Music was actually. This is weird. When I was a kid, we didn't go to a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Just because, I did as I got older. But when I was little, The Sound of Music was the first movie I saw in a theater.
What a movie to see!
Because my dad wouldn't spend money on me. One of the salesmen, that he was a buyer for our electric co-op, and the Westinghouse salesman,
Westinghouse, yeah.
he and his wife, they didn't have kids, and he would take Dad and Mom and me and my little brother out for like restaurant, and we did that 3 or 4 times. And he was a big Julie Andrews fan. Mm-hmm. So the first the first 3 movies I saw, like when I was like 4 and then 5, was Sound of Music, and Darling Lily, and Thoroughly Modern Millie, because they were all Julie Andrews movies.
Now there is a Star Trek connection here. Who directed The Sound of Music?
Oh, Robert Wise.
And what else?
Nick Meyer. Huh?
And what else did
he directed West Side Story.
And what else did he direct?
He directed The Day the Earth Stood Still.
And what else did he direct?
and then?
And then, of course,
he directed the Star Trek: The Motion Picture, the Director's Edition.
Yes, the Director's Edition. Oh man. Okay. I have my last question, and then I want to do a lightning round because I know you have to get to Alameda. Mm-hmm. So my last question to you, it's a tough one. So go with what pops up in your head first.
I know lightning. I know. Shut up, Larry. Lightning.
If your life were a movie, what would be an unforgettable scene? A very simple last question for Larry.
It's been a pretty boring life. Wow.
I mean, this is one of those things where I ask you a
do
question.
Some therapy with your new patients or something?
This is my
the bio file.
This is the question I ask people when I do this in group therapy, like session 6 or 7. I have people share a story out loud. Yeah. Let me give a fun one.
I thought I swear I thought you were going to say something I was actually going to be ready for, because we had to do it in some college journalism class one time. It was like, if your life was a story, what actor would you want to play you?
Oh, I've never even thought of that.
I should have thought about that. I could have got you back with it.
Yeah. I have an answer if you're still thinking about it. Okay. I think one that's relevant for the Life Support Live community would be the first Star Trek convention I went to when I was in 4th grade, and I showed up.
Mind-blowing one that you talk about?
I don't know.
Okay.
This is when I was standing at the San Jose Convention Center, just a few miles away from here. My parents dropped me off because that's what parents did. They dropped off this kid in 4th grade, and I just went in alone. They gave me $25. Sent me in. With that $25, I was able to not only pay for my admission, nachos at the concession, but then also buy this,
new, fresh?
Yeah, new. This is the one I got from that convention. This is the technical manual I got. I was so anxious because I thought in this hall are the coolest people in the world, and I need to impress them. And I took off my glasses and I hid them in my pocket because I didn't want anyone to think I wasn't cool. I didn't want these Trekkies to think I wasn't cool because I was wearing glasses. I wanted to fit in so much. And because of that, I didn't really get to see anything. I was sitting there, Leonard Nimoy was talking, and I didn't get to see him because my vision was so bad, but I wanted to fit in. You know, that would be the unforgettable scene, I think, for our community.
Wow. Okay. Well, I have something kind of like that.
Go for it.
Okay, so when I'm in high school, and you have the first bite of the bug, right? Mm-hmm. And I wanted a uniform because I saw people in books in New York and in LA doing that at conventions, and I'll never get to go to something like that. Mm-hmm. But that's what you wanted to do. So I'm like a senior, okay, in high school. And of course I had mom make me we got the pattern from Lincoln, and we were shopping trying to find decent, you couldn't match fabric, but it was like the color and the texture and all that. So finally found something, and mom made it and got the braid, which is the wrong braid to patch. Anyway, she made it for me with invisible zipper. It had to be an invisible zipper.
Very impressive.
Yeah, and we fought over it. But it was like, okay, it's made. Now, I had no place to wear it or anything. What was I going to do? Well, I was like weirdly kind of legitimate and also geeky at the same time. Our high school had a lot of crossover, and I was on student council. I was an officer, and you know all the stories about everybody, like in the Enterprise, the Mark and what's his name's movie, where the whole trope of the kid that wears his Star Trek shirt and gets beat up at school.
Yeah,
that whole thing.
Yeah.
So I don't remember thinking about that, but I remember thinking I want to wear this. I'm in high school. I've got no other place to wear it.
Right. What else do you do?
I want to wear it to school, but I don't want to stick out. So, you know, we had like, you know, they used to have Sadie Hawkins days, and we would have like whatever, you know, dress like your homecoming enemy.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
anyway.
all the spirit days.
So So one, like toward the end of the year, I said, let's have a dress up day. Let's have TV and movie dress up day. Mm-hmm. And everybody was like, sure, fine. And it was the kind of thing we could decide and do. And it was like, okay, fine, sure. So did
you recommend that just so you could wear it?
Of course I did. Of course I did.
Brilliant.
And it was like, so we had two girls come as, you know, Minnie and Mickey Mouse, and some people really got into it, you know, but it could be anything, Westerns and so I had my McCoy thing. What I had not thought about was our vocal music department did we had our spring concert, or spring pops concert at night, but we did a school version, and the only auditorium, anyway. So it was like the day of dress-up day was the day we did the school version. So I have all these pictures of me emceeing that show in my McCoy.
We need to see that. We need to see those photos.
I have one picture, yeah.
But you got to post that.
I have one picture of me introducing, yeah. We were doing a friend of mine, Dean, who was the guy who took me into a comic shop, sci-fi shop for the first time.
Oh, wow.
That wound up being Oklahoma City policeman for years. But he's an incredible guy. Has a great page. Anyway, and we did a comedy thing in the show that year. We did a Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner thing. Not the 2,000-Year-Old Man, but another one of their album things. Yeah. And he's the Mel Brooks, and I'm the straight guy.
And you're doing it as.
And he's got his kind of costume on. Yeah. But I'm supposed to be like a straight reporter interviewing. Yeah. But I have a McCoy.
But you got the McCoy
top, yeah. Which no one cared because it was, you know. It's just weird to think back on this now. Anyway, I don't know, but that's the most memorable part of it.
No, but that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. All right, folks, we are going to wrap up by doing a lightning round of your questions.
That was supposed to be a lightning round.
We're going to do this fast, Larry.
Yeah, okay.
These are questions from all of you. Zahir asks, how do you pronounce Shran's first name? I suspect Larry will know.
This is a book thing that wasn't on Screen Canon. It's Thyrek or something. I don't know if that's the right way. It was a book thing, and no one ever said it on film, and which is why you're asking me.
Just Janice asks, what is a good Star Trek short story? I would say any of the
you mean a written on paper story, not
I think
film?
Any. Do you know of any short story Star Trek collections or books? I haven't read it.
Well, there were the original ones that were called New Voyages in the 70s, and then they did the Strange New Worlds contest for like 18 years.
What's the best? Do you remember any that were really good, really memorable?
There was a zine story that was done. Here's a classic one from that the sequel was printed professionally because the original was a fanzine story. There's a story called Visit to a Strange Planet and Visit to a Strange Planet Revisited. And the whole premise is one of them is the real Spock, Kirk, and McCoy are beaming to a planet, and there's a weird transporter beam accident, and when they come out of the beam, they're standing on the stage in 1967 Desilu Stage 9.
That's
the real characters on the stage, And it's about how they walk around and get back, and all of a sudden there's no ceiling in the transporter, and they're what? And then the sequel, of course, is the actors beam into the real. It's funny because they're like walking down the hall, like trying to read all the name plaques on the doors without.
That's good. That's good.
Anyway, that's a fun one.
I would say the IDW Star Trek Doctor Who crossover it's not a short story but a short comic, and it's a ton of fun because it's they have I think it's the 10th or 11th Doctor visits TNG, and there's a flashback to the TOS era where the sixth Doctor, I believe it's a sixth Doctor.
Why would it be the sixth Doctor?
Or no,
Not the first.
The fourth Doctor.
Oh, okay.
The most popular one.
Oh, Tom Baker.
Tom Baker. Is he number 6?
He's 4.
He's 4. He's there with the.
I can't believe I know these classic movie people.
Tom Baker is with the original series, while like David Tennant is with TNG.
Is it movie era?
Because
it was
no.
Hartnell
It's TOS.
Hartnell and
It's
Troutman would
TOS.
have been.
They just wanted Tom Baker.
I can't
to
believe
be there.
I'm name dropping Doctor Who actors.
And welcome to the Doctor Who Life Support Live. Okay, lightning. Okay, so here, have you ever been moved to tears by an episode of Trek? Yes. The most recent time I remember is after I became a dad and I watched The Visitor. I was doing dishes. I was watching it. I put my phone there because I hate doing dishes, and I was going through a DS9 rewatch. And The Visitor came on, and like I was doing dishes, and I just started weeping. I was like, and my wife is like, "Are you okay? What did you just cut yourself doing the dishes?" I'm like, "No, it's this episode of Star Trek." And then she rolled her eyes, and she's like, "God,
you're not my therapist."
Yeah.
Okay. I would say real quick, 2 times I can remember, but I don't think it was one. I had gotten the novelization for The Wrath of Khan like a day or 2 early.
Oh,
and
wow.
I specifically remember I was laying down on my mom's sofa, like laying down reading it, with my head on one end, and I got to his was the most human, and I was like, I was so shocked that got me. I remember I teared up reading the book before seeing the movie.
Before you saw the portrayal, which that is one of the best lines ever delivered.
Of course.
The way Shatner says.
And then when I saw it in the movie, I was like, ooh. But it had already been, the rawness had already been taken.
Yeah.
But then, just recently, with everything that's happened since, I would get a little verklempt and be a little like shooting Tribulation. I mean, I was there when they shot Tribulations and did a story on it, and some of the emotional, sentimental high points and things and shocks and all that. But one that I wasn't expecting was in Picard of all things, and when Seven is leaving and Picard's telling her bye, and they talk about being aboard. They subtext being aboard.
Yeah.
Do you ever forget it, or do you ever think about it?
Yeah.
And she says every damn day.
Yeah.
And underneath that, they have the Voyager theme coming up.
Yeah.
After the whole thing I just said about Voyager, and I'm doing it right now. I was like, that's when I went, they're really, like, everybody who's knocking these new shows, it's like, that was the thing, like, Next Gen in the day would never have done. Like, it took them 5 years to where they would do that. And here these guys are embracing that, and they're not being cheesy and lame about it.
No, the way they were able to
The way they brought that in.
They brought Seven.
And then the finale of Lower Decks, when the Titan swooped in, and Boimler says, "It's the Titan!" And he's like his little fanboy. I look, it's Riker and Troy!
Yeah, when we finally see
Marina
them.
Troy looks so awesome as a cartoon.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So, but tears, but verklempt.
Which ship from Star Trek would you like to have to command? Asked Just Janice. For me, my favorite is the 1701 refit. But if I had to command, Enterprise D. It's got everything I would want and need. It's a big old cruise line.
There's just something wrong about me. I never think about commanding in captain's chairs and things. I don't know. I would just be sentimental and say the original or the D. I don't know. This is why I'm bad at questions. Okay.
Phil asks,
the lightning hit
canon
me.
versus retcon. Should the writers pay more attention to what has already been done? That's a good question.
Just no. I have a hashtag for this. Use the universe. Tell your stories. Don't be gratuitous, but if it makes sense and it's fun, then do it. But don't be afraid. Don't be ignorant of it, and don't be afraid to.
Yeah.
But don't be gratuitous either.
Canon is a tool to help you tell stories. It's not a prison to keep you stuck. I think there's always creative ways that you can use the limitations to find of what's happened before to find an interesting way to move forward. Michael says, question for Dr. Ellie. Have you ever had a patient whose fandom was actually a barrier to them
This
getting
is the
better?
one I wanted you to answer all
Yeah, I think, I wouldn't just say, I would say let's expand fandom to identity. There's definitely people I've worked with for whom some aspect of their identity was a barrier to moving forward. Their identity as someone who's a depressed person. Their identity as someone who loves the original Star Wars films and like hates what's come after. Absolutely. I can't think off the top of my head if I worked with anyone for whom they had an aspect of Star Trek fandom that got in the way, but definitely.
Well, of course not, because Star Trek is perfect.
Idic.
Therapeutically.
Rose asks, what would you... Oh, we already answered this one. We spent a lot of time
Yeah.
answering this one. Nathaniel asks, what Star Trek villain is most like you?
I prefer to think of them as adversaries, not villains.
Oh, man. This is really, really hard to answer. And I want to say V'ger, but that doesn't count. V'ger was not a villain, more of an adversary. I don't know.
That's what I said.
Gosh, there's been so many good ones. I keep going to the movies in my head, but we've had a lot of great villains.
You just missed them with COVID.
Yeah. Man, Larry.
And you wiped past the question is not on screen now for us.
Yeah, that's because I destarred it.
Okay.
Um,
You destroyed me when you destarted it. So what was it? What was the question?
What Star Trek villain is
right,
most like
right.
you? Nathaniel says it broke the doctors. Yeah, I don't know. I so not identify with any of the villains because they're probably villains, and I want to go DS9, and I want to say, oh gosh.
Oh, you did go to the movies. I went to the movies too. That's
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go DS9 and maybe Eddington. Someone who believes in a cause and has been kind of seen how the sausage is made. I'm thinking of like academia, and I've seen how that world works, and I've kind of left it behind. I've totally left academia.
No academia nuts for you anymore.
No academia nuts. I do not eat those anymore. I'm going to say Eddington. Yeah. I believed in it 100%, and I saw it, and I'm gone.
Zahir was predicting that. That's amazing.
What?
You saw
What?
his answer.
What?
No one would do that for me.
Michael Eddington, or maybe Chakotay before the thing with caregiver. Wow.
Boom.
That, I did not see that.
I was just, and then Scott's like another Les Mis reference.
Sure.
Like the third season Discovery cast photo.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
Totally Les Mis, yeah.
One more starship, another shuttle,
This was a
another
lot easier when I was in
stellar
Burbank.
cartography.
What is it? 12
What about you, Larry?
Somebody want to come up with an answer for me? That was easy.
We're going to let it percolate.
Yeah, percolate.
Robert asks, what is the proper response to those who confuse Star Wars and Star Trek? Seems to happen more often than it should. My proper response is what I learned from my friend, who we've been on a panel with, Dr. Drea Lettamenti, which is Star Wars helps you to forget, Star Trek helps you to remember. Star Wars is fantasy. It's about good versus evil. Star Trek is about social commentary and creating a better future. They work well together.
Oh, wait, she said, what about...
Star Wars
forget
helps you
and
to
remember?
forget. Star Trek helps you to remember.
Star Wars helps you to forget.
It helps you to escape into a fantasy, get out of
Oh,
the mundane
oh,
aspects
okay.
of your world. Star Trek helps you to remember where we are right now and what we can do
as
to
a tether
build.
to the
Yeah,
world. Okay.
yeah. I
Well,
think
I
that's
was
a proper
just-
answer.
I just recorded a panel. My one panel this year virtually for Comic-Con San Diego was with a bunch of real-life space lawyers who work in space law and a lot of aspirational things. And they had different... There were Star Trek and Star Wars and Expanse fan. People were representing all kinds of things, but at the end of it, they all had like a little bit of Trek in them. And basically, and I ask everybody what their what they did in real life, but also what their geek fandom was. That's why they're on a panel for Comic-Con. And everybody basically said if Star Trek wasn't their favorite, what they did with law and space law and treaties and economics and asteroid mining and corporate and the moon and Mars and future flight and all that. And they all said what they were doing was because they wanted a future like Star Trek. They were afraid they would get a future like Star Wars or The Expanse, or it's like they all wanted Star Trek, but they're doing their best to avoid Star Wars and Expanse.
Yeah. So Charlotte might have an answer. Larry, the guy in the most toys. I don't even remember who this person
Oh,
is.
Saul Rubinek, but it was going to be the guy that collected data. Data was in his museum. Okay. Oh wait, I'm doing that now. I can't.
He's a bit of a historian. Kind of.
It was kind of like obsessed to the point where he kidnapped. He was reading the.
I've
the
got
Maddox
one.
file.
I've got one.
No, you already answered. What do you mean?
I didn't give an answer for who you might be.
Okay.
How about the progenitor race in The Chase? Seeing the connections that exist that other people might refuse to acknowledge.
Is that a villain?
It's an antagonist.
It's a okay.
I'm gonna say you are them.
It's the missing puzzle piece.
They're the texture, not trivia, to the alpha beta.
But I'm not claiming fatherhood for all intelligent bipedal life. I
I'm also not blowing up different federations.
The sentiment I get.
Okay, last question, and we're wrapping up. Now that you've done a show in person, would you prefer to do it more in person or go back to your own caves?
I'm so thrown right now.
What say you?
Where do I look?
What say you?
Huh? We'll do this again. It's good that we have.
Yeah. I think we will do it again.
Somewhere, somehow, we'll do it again. Right. Sometime we might be at a con together on Saturday morning, and we should just carve out time. And maybe we'd even do it. Maybe we do find a way to get it with a panel and do it with an audience.
Yes.
But we'll do it. We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
But it won't be here.
No.
It won't be here in Psych Show Studio 1.
No, this is the last thing I'm recording here. We're about to move next week. And folks, as I start to play the sad music...
Do I get to hear it?
Which, I would have to turn on the sound here. And
I'm never going to hear the sad music.
Because I don't have... I think... Is it playing? Hello, computer. Are you playing?
So, can you all hear the... Is it supposed to be going now?
Yeah. See, I don't have my headphones on. And...
Lawyer decks. Good, Christoph.
What was Christoph's... lawyer.
Deck.
Yeah,
Lawyer
that's
deck.
great. Christoph says, don't play the sound, please. I'm trying to...
No, I am not moving in here.
No. I don't know if it's playing, Larry.
Robert's trying to
look, Larry, there was a button called Use Echo Cancellation. I'm just now seeing that we could have totally used both mics if I press that button, and I just saying it here now. I don't know why the sad music is not playing.
You're stuck with us forever. It's the sad music.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
As we hum it. So folks, no life support live next week because I will not have a studio. Everything will be in boxes. We're moving next Friday. Saturday is kind of an unpacking day.
End program.
Yeah. Arch, please. I'm going to say arch and walk out those doors. And
the studio program, not the program. Life Support Live will continue after.
Life Support Live will be back, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. And yeah, we'll do this again. One of these days, I might be down in Southern California, and we'll definitely have our panel. We're gonna do stuff. Larry, between now and then, where can people find more of your wonderful
I think
work?
I sent this to you, but I didn't say anything about it, so don't worry about it. So, hey, LarryNemecek.com, as always. At Larry Nemecek on Twitter. Where you're watching right now, please like and subscribe on the YouTube, or come over and join Larry Nemecek's Trekland, either way. Right now, if you are going to Vegas Trek, we are, maybe for the last time, offering the one-day tour. Geek Nation Tours, Terrace Cassidy and I are offering our one-day tour out to the Valley of Fire, where Kirk was killed in Viridian 3 in Generations. So go to...
That bridge is still there.
That
Not there, but it's now used for
yes,
across
there's
the
a
trail.
whole wacky story that we take you to. Aside from the film shoot, which is amazing, we go there, and we have another couple of stops that are Star Trek related, which is wild. And we stop at the Nature Center. There's a lot of cool natural history there, the early tribes that were there, the peoples that lived there too, and the geology is amazing. And we get in and out of the heat, and we have lunch. So anyway, if you're interested in that, check it out. It's the top next tour at the geeknationtours.com page, or you could come over to my page and look on the calendar. Anyway, things are revving up, and I'm going to be, advance word, I'm supposed to be in Salt Lake in the middle of September. So real life is crawling back.
Yeah.
Coming up.
Folks, I've got next.
How about you, Ollie?
Next week on the Psych Show, I've got an interview between my dad and I in celebration of Father's Day coming out,
Nice.
which is funny story. I recorded that video for last year's Father's Day and then never edited it because life was pretty wild last May.
Yeah.
That was when the pandemic depression was really setting in. So I never edited it, but it's going to be good to go in time for next week. So it's my dad and I talking about how he originally didn't support my decision to go into psychology and where he is now with all of it. So it's a good Father's Day episode. So I'll have that up, and then folks, next time you see me, it's going to be we'll see what it looks like. I have no idea.
I'll be curious.
Yeah, I'm curious too. I have no idea what it'll look like. And Larry, thank you for being my last
Wingman?
guest
That's
ever
what's weird. Yeah.
here.
Your second
my second visitor to our home and last visitor and first time ever in-person guest at the Psych Show studios. No one else has really even seen this. So thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, Ollie. I'm so glad to be here.
I don't even know how they sign off. But folks, we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Yes.
And we have an episode. It's should we tell them what the episode's going to be called?
Do we dare say a topic in advance? We've got it all ready to go.
It's
and then
all ready. Yeah.
Last night he says, "I'll ask you questions. We'll have an AMA."
I was like, let's do a fun
And
AMA.
I say, wouldn't it be an AUA?
Yes, hence which is the name of an airline, as Cairo tells us, out there in
Maybe
in
that's
Cairo
why
land.
AUA didn't take. I was going to say it's the American Universalists Association or something.
Scott says, very Sarek of your dad, Ollie. I like that. I like because that makes me Spock.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so sad we didn't have the sad music. Or wait, or something.
I mean, I'm just glad there's audio and it's not sounding terrible.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Until next time, live long and prosper, my friends.
Yes, trek well, everybody. Fingers together.